We will now switch into the Q&A mode, so you will have the possibility to unmute yourself and ask questions directly if you have a microphone. Just as a small reminder, the button to unmute yourself is at the top of the page. And yeah, you can also still use the chat function if you want to. Okay, and maybe to start off, we already received some questions beforehand during the registrations. Thank you for those. But I already saw that we just received a question during the presentation, so maybe let's start with this one. I will just read it out. Yeah, hi Thomas and Alexandra. You mentioned that hardly anyone is publishing hard copy intermediate reports anymore. To be honest, we do. Would you say that trying online first for the intermediate reports is recommendable and as a kind of pre-study? And also, do you have experiences, best practices where this way of implementing the approach worked especially well? So yeah, the topic of intermediate reports and online first. Maybe Thomas, you could comment on that? I guess you can see the question too.
Yes, I can see the question. So thank you very much first for the question. Yes, of course, that's something that is very recommendable from our side, because intermediate reports are much smaller from size and also from complexity. And especially in continental Europe, we are doing the interim reports 3 times a year, so there is more frequency around that. In some countries, we even have a 4th interim report for some companies. So that's something that's definitely recommendable. And when I said that stopping the hardcover intermediate, I especially referring to the, for me, very anachronistic information I got from several presentations where a lot of companies in the DAX 30 actually stopped to produce and mail out the hardcover version, but they still stick to an InDesign-led process where the PDF is the outcome. And then they are publishing the PDF of this interim for the website, and stakeholders can then download this PDF and read it on screen, which is quite contradictory actually to me, because if I have an InDesign process and then I'm not publishing a hardcover version, that's all the pre-press work and all the bespoken thing for the A4, for the portrait format actually is not used anymore. So if I produce an InDesign-led process, then there needs, from my point of view, is no sense of stopping and not printing them anymore. So
okay.
That hopefully satisfies the question, and if not, please let us know.
Yeah, well, if not, please let us know. Maybe in the meantime, we can go on with some other questions. We received 2 different ones. Maybe we can put them into one. Yeah, first of all, can you tell us who does the layouting of the PDF version? And also, how good is the quality of the printed report? So maybe just a few words on the PDF versions and the printed report in the online first process. Thomas.
Okay, yes, the PDF, the layout of the PDF version is done at nexxar. So we did all the examples that we have in the presentation, and you can browse through online and download the PDF or receive the hardcover version for. This layout is done at nexxar. We have 3 designers at nexxar now. 2 of them have a print background, so they produced printed documents before a lot of times, and that's why we have invested heavily into this section, and all the layout and design therefore is done at nexxar and through nexxar. So that's the first answer for the first question, and then the overall question for the quality. Yes, that's a very good question, of course, and we are asked that question quite often. And to be honest, to what extent the printed report is glossy or not depends very much on your needs and costs. So that's something you have to ask yourself in the beginning of when you switch to online first, is to what extent do you need or do you want to have the printed version to be a high quality print production work. Some pages, of course, will always be designed and added offline, like the cover, for example, or some special divider pages. But of course, all these additional pages add cost and complexity to the entire project. All the design that you're doing have some limitations online. So, for example, the automated content inflow, like page breaks or multi-columns, is limited in the online version. Sorry, in the online first process. And at the end, that's the big question you need to ask yourself: to what extent you're willing and compromising on the look and feel of the print side. If you're looking for a fully fledged print version as a traditional approach is looking like, the online first will not fit your needs. So that's something I can say here. So the online first is something where you need to switch the focus for the web version.
Thank you very much. I can also see a few other questions. I just wanted to say that everybody who is willing to know more about the online first process and the product itself, its tools, etc., there's always the possibility to get in contact with us or your project manager directly after the presentation, and also there will be some additional information for download and a recording of today's webinar to look at. So of course we will send out the links with the respective information. Yeah, but let's move on to another question maybe first, or maybe two, which are: what is the impact of online first on the planning of the reporting project? Which is the one question, and also maybe a few words on the costs of online first. Thomas?
Okay, the first question was on the process. The process it's as such depends, of course, from project to project how much time will be requested. We think that the earlier you start with, the better, and we see our master schedule should work with a time frame of at least 6 months ahead. So typically, I would say it's very similar to the current printed report. You will start with all the design and concept phase, and that actually takes time. Especially when you do it the first time, please allow it a bit more time for thinking of how you can shape the message better for online. And this shaping of message takes time. So I would say at least 6 months, maybe even more than that. Yeah, second question regarding costings. So that's also a question that is depending very much on the required services that you need for the content. For example, content consulting, editing, all the creative concepts, graphs, photos, everything. We can handle everything of the reporting chain. So we have all the resources either in-house or through partners that we're working with. For example, for freelance photographs, for example. Also proofreading, we all have these elements in our pipeline. We can offer all these elements from one hand, and I would say as a rule of thumb, the budget for an online first approach will range between 50,000 and 100,000 euros in the first year. And of course, and that's probably the more important information for that, in consecutive years, the costs will come down significantly. Imagine the setup of the framework. This is initial costs that you don't have to pay for in the second year. So everything that can be reused in the second year will bring down costs.
Thank you very much, Thomas. I hope the question has been answered. If not, please let us know. Maybe in the meantime, we can answer a question that we received beforehand during the registration. Yeah, maybe I just read it out and Thomas can also comment on it. The UK regulator FRC said there was currently significant opposition to the abolition of the printed report. Do you expect the requirement in the UK for a printed report to disappear, and if so, when?
Okay, yes, that's something already prepared for, this answer. So currently, it doesn't look like the printed reports will be abolished anytime soon. So especially, as you mentioned, in the UK, the FRC sets minimum standards, and that's something they're very strict on. Equally, and that's probably the main part here, it is nowhere defined how a printed report has actually to look like. So there are good reasons that, from my point of view, the print report of the future will be published with a much simpler layout. The regulators are increasing all the requirements for content. So we are seeing the page amount of the print reports are increasing. Some annual reports now have 600 pages of content, and all this information to print is, from my point of view, doesn't make sense anymore. It's not readable. It's not searchable. So from my point of view, we'll see the comprehensive and engaging communication will take place online, and print, from my point of view, will be cut down to a minimum. I can see, Alexandra, just a quick note I see on the chat, a good comment. Of course, if you like, we can put you in contact to our clients that have already run through the online first process in the last years to discuss their experiences. I think that's a very good input. We are happy to be the link in here and to put yourself, if you like to, in contact. Just let us know if you would like to, either by emailing me or your contact person within nexxar.
Yes, thank you for answering to that too, Thomas. Since at the moment there is no actual question, but maybe we can pick up something we heard before, which is if the clients themselves will have access to the CMS for fast updates or to share. And maybe we can combine this with the question on who is going to run the whole process. And maybe, Thomas, you can explain a little bit to what extent does the company or other agencies need to get involved?
Okay, yeah. Well, that's something that is also very flexible depending on your needs and what you like to do. Typically, we have briefing and kickoff meetings in a starting point. We come up with, of course, with consulting you on what is necessary to shape the online version best, and we create a communication concept at the beginning. And this design is something like the rationale of the report, both for the online and the print side. From approval of the concepts, we then present a more granular screen concept, and all the print design will be presented into more granularity. In detail, and also the content messaging will be shaped. So when this content creation takes place later on in the traditional ways, we can adopt to any kind of content creation. For example, some clients like to have to stick to the exchanging Word files within the editing team until a certain point in time. Others already adopt to the pure online first, which is something on the long run, from my point of view, makes sense, because if you start to really create the content on the screen, you can see how much text actually fits on the screen itself, and how much is possible to have beside a graph, beside a table, and that really makes on the long run the impact on how the message is shaped.
Okay. Thank you very much. I can see another question coming in right this minute. Thank you for your participation. We are very happy to see you ask so much. The question is, can a Word version be extracted from the CMS after publication?
So far as I know, it's not. It's currently not an option. But of course, we can ask our technical team to look into that as well. There is an XML dump, of course. So all what is produced within the CMS can be extracted, because we have the automatic feed into the PDF, and that's all based on an XML dump. And I'm sure there is a way how you can go back to a Word file, but actually I would have to find out into more detail, and I'm happy to take that note and come back to you with more details on that.
Okay, thank you very much. Another question coming in. Can you tell us, because you know, how the internal sign-off process with the most senior management works in an online process, online first work process?
Yes, well, the question is from, as I can see, is from from a very practical point of view, and that's true. The senior management, as far as I have experienced so far, all print-led. So they are used to having this on paper. So as far as I have experienced, currently it is still a given to have the PDF mailed over and then have to sign off on this PDF version. But to give you some let's say light at the end of the tunnel, for example, PwC of one of our clients, they are also doing a sign-off checking on the online version, and they check actually the online site already. So they go through the online version and check all the content straight into in the online version. I think we are also in a change process in here. So senior management sometimes probably, as it said, senior are older persons that are not used to online formats. They're not trusting them as much as they could, for example, and that's leading to this clearly visible preference that is still for the sign off.
Okay, thank you once again. I hope we answered the question properly. Maybe we can still get into a question that we received before the presentation. Do any companies already do online first, and if so, which ones? You've already mentioned a few best practice examples, Thomas. Maybe you can get a little more into that topic.
Okay, yes, of course, very happy to do so. Online first is something that is, as you see from our examples as well, is already very common in the CR and sustainability area. So this is often in conjunction with a glossy summary brochure, or for example, that what I showed you as an example for Linde. One example that I know from our clients includes the Legal in General CR report, which is pure online first with their CR reports. Outside from our clients, there in Germany, there is a good example in the CR space from SAP, which produced the combined annual report and sustainability as an online first. Allianz has a very good version. The Deutsche Post DHL CR report is a good example as well. Then, of course, our clients that I already showed before. In the reporting space, in the annual reporting space, we have examples including from Ordina in the Netherlands, and also the Triados annual report is partly online first. That's also, I think, a good showcase. In the US, I know from Entergy, that's an energy company, a huge company that is already switched for the annual reports for online first. In Germany, Rewe and Versatel, and in Switzerland, we saw Geberit and Migros, which also produce their reports online first. And to add on, I just see from the chat, thank you very much for this. I know that Philips, Randstad, Ahold, and DSM also work with an online first software system. That's true. Yeah, thank you very much for this.
Good. Well, then I guess it leaves me to say once again, thank you very much for listening to us and for the participation and for the many questions. We are very happy that you shared your thoughts with us. If there are no more questions, then maybe we will come to an end of this presentation. Please remember that there will be a recording of this webinar available from most probably tomorrow, but we will, of course, tell you the exact links and send you the information where you can download the case studies and additional information on this webinar. If you want to know more, of course, you can always contact your respective contact person at nexxar, the project manager that is responsible for your company, and we are very happy to answer more of your questions or to send you examples, case studies, etc. Yeah, once again, thank you very much. Then let's come to an end and close this presentation. Thank you, Thomas, once again for your presentation, and see you in September, and maybe you can tell your colleagues who were not able to participate. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, and goodbye from Vienna.